This session we're going to discuss project stakeholders. We will identify the types of stakeholders and the importance of understanding them so that better communications can be established. Project stakeholders are the people involved in or affected by the project activities. They are either internal or within the organization, or external, which are other companies or agencies that have a vested interest in the project. Let's look at some of the internal stakeholders. Internal project stakeholders generally include the project sponsor, project team, support staff, and internal customers for the project. Other internal stakeholders could include top management, other functional managers, and other project managers. Let's look at the external stakeholders. External project stakeholders include the project's customers, if they are external to the organization, competitors, suppliers, and other external groups that are potentially involved in or affected by the project, such as government officials and concerned citizens. There's a couple of tools that we're going to be using this semester. So there are these two tools that we'll use to identify internal project stakeholders and external project stakeholders, and that is the Stakeholder Register and Stakeholder Management Strategy. There's many times you will not know the personnel that are assembled for your team. It is important that you not only have the contact information, which you can get from formal org charts and bios, but that you also know their level of influence and level of interest in the project. People come to the project with a history. A good project manager will get to know a little about these people before they come on board. There are many ways to go about this. The best way is simply to talk with people about these stakeholders that have worked with them in the past. One of the main goals of a project manager is to manage relationships with these key stakeholders. You record these with a couple of different documents. Let's take a look at these. This is one called the Stakeholder Register. You'll notice that you'll have the project name, and here the name of the individual, their position, and whether they are internal or external to the team, their project role, and contact information. So their position is what they do in their real job, if you will, and the project role is what their role is on the team. So there's a difference there. So this Stakeholder Register, it's a document that includes these details related to the identified project stakeholders. This is usually available to many people, so it should not include sensitive information. These people could include the project sponsor, project team, support staff, functional managers. You will need to identify just the key personnel from these areas and include them in your Stakeholder Register. Stakeholders external to the organization could be customers, suppliers, vendors, or any major contributor to the project. Usually you will have the representatives as a stakeholder. The information should not contain sensitive material, simply organizational information. Let's look at an example of one that is. In this case, we've got the name, and this is the chart that's in the book. Mike Sunby is the name, position. In this case, Vice President of Human Resources. They have an internal role, and his project role is project champion. In this case, it's only it's only the email address, but you would include other contact information here if you so choose. Some of the others: Lucy Camarena, Training Director, Internal; Ron Ryan, Senior HR Staff Member, Internal. But you would also include external or internal roles here also. Their project role again, and contact information. So that's the sample of a stakeholder register, and that's an example from the book. Let's look at the next case. In this case, this is a stakeholder management strategy. Now, this particular case, this is where you're going to put sensitive information. This you use this as an approach to help increase the support of stakeholders throughout the project, which can include sensitive information should not be made readily available. As I previously mentioned, you need to manage these relationships of the team and develop a feeling of support among the team. The main information you're looking for is their level of interest, level of influence, and a management strategy for each. Since you are dealing with very personal information, only the project manager and a few key members should create and have access to this document. So let's look at an example. These same people again. In this case, you have Mike Sumby again. Level of interest is high, level of influence high. And then what are the management strategies? States that Mike is a very outgoing and visionary, great traits for a project champion. Concerned about the financials, he has an MBA. To help manage that situation, you need to keep him informed and ask for his advice as needed. Lucy Camarena, again, level of interest high, level of influence high. Lucy has a PhD in education and knows training at this company. Very professional. To help manage this, so you need to make sure she reviews important work before showing it to other managers. And Ron Ryan, level of interest medium, level of influence medium. Something important you might need to know about Ron. He led Phase 1 project, but he's upset that he was not asked to lead Phase 2. Been with the company 20 years and could be a good resource, but he also could sabotage the project. In this case, to help manage this, you ask Lucy to talk to him to avoid problems, perhaps give him a small consulting role on the project. So you can see that the level of interest and level of influence could be high, medium, or even low, depending upon their role on the project and their history. And like I say, you get this information by talking with people that have worked with them in the past. Let's have a quick review now of what we've talked about. This first slide, it represented the project stakeholders. They are simply people that are involved in or affected by the project. So it's important to understand and identify the project stakeholders. In this case, it's the internal project stakeholders. In the graphic here, there's Aaron, the auditor, Pete, the programmer, and the attorney, Mike, the manager. And you'll identify your own internal stakeholders. And then the next one, external project stakeholders. They are key to the project because they have they're again that level of influence and level of support. So we have to identify those external project stakeholders. And then finally, the stakeholder register and stakeholder management strategy. This involves all the people, internal and external, on your project that we need to have a level of understanding about them. Their bio information that you can get from org charts, as well as their level of influence, level of support on the project itself. And there's our stakeholder register, and that's mostly contact information whether they're internal or external to the organization, their project role, and so forth. And then finally, that stakeholder management strategy, and this is where sensitive information that you glean from others in the organization that shows their level of interest and level of influence, and most importantly, the management strategy that you have in order to communicate with these people and to be able to manage these people that are on the project. So that concludes our session on understanding project stakeholders.